Welcome back to the Loading Up podcast. I am your host, Producer J, along with one of my co-hosts, Brother Zay. How are you?
What's going on, man? How are you doing?
It's been too long. I know we took a little bit of a break, but
we did.
It was the holidays. It was very hectic. I'm sure it was for you too. It was hard to schedule a bunch of stuff, but we're back. It's a new year. It's a new podcast for the week, and hopefully we won't be missing more time as we go forward, because there's a lot to look forward to this year. But before we get into all of that, we just want to remind you that you can support us by liking and subscribing. You can also support us by going to the description and looking up our sponsors, which is W Energy, NordVPN, and Starforge Systems and Starforge PCs. If you use code LUP at checkout for W Energy, you can save yourself 10% off your first order. And with NordVPN, I always forget the number. It's somewhere in the range of 67, 68, 69% off your first subscription. And it's very handy. I do it every day at work because it's, for whatever reason, my work doesn't let me play games. So whenever I'm on my hey, listen, I do it on my break. Anyway, if you support them, they will support us, and we will thank them and thank you for that. But without further ado, let's talk about what we've been playing, because I have definitely been playing a lot. But before that, what have you been playing, Brother Zay?
All right. I mean, like you said, it's been some time, so I've had plenty of time to play some games, especially over the sort of New Year's and Christmas break. You know, I've had some days off, so I got through the Plucky Squire. I beat that.
You did?
I did.
You beat it before me.
Ha! Gotcha. No, it was really great. I absolutely loved it. The gameplay was so different, so unique. I actually couldn't put it down. I just had to keep playing. So I got and played and beat Plucky Squire. I also played. I started playing Tekken 8. I'm sorry, Tekken 8. We'll pick that up on sale during the Christmas sale, and started playing that. I also picked up, because I've never played Batman Origins.
Okay.
Yeah, so I played all the others. I played Arkham Asylum, City, and Arkham Knight, but I never got to play Origins. And so it was on Steam for $2.99. So I had to pick it up. Yes, I had to pick it up. And I'm going through that. That is awesome. It's good. It reminds me of City. It's got that openish world, you know, and then I love it. I'm just going around beating up every criminal I can see.
Coincidentally, it also takes place around Christmas time, so
it does, yeah. So I'm playing through that, and of course I've still played through Call of Duty and playing more Marvel Rivals, having a ton of fun and frustrations with that one.
Yes, I definitely understand that one. So I've been playing, along with my usual, you know, I've been playing Call of Duty, been making my way through Plucky Squire. Although, I don't know, I keep saying this, like, I don't know why I'm so addicted to Call of Duty. Like, I literally just been playing that, like in my break. Normally, I'll play, like, my secondary game, like a Plucky Squire. I'll play that on my lunch break at work, but for whatever reason, I only want to play Call of Duty. Like, it hooked me, and I've been playing that mostly at work. So I've been playing that. I also finally started, after a year, Baldur's Gate 3. I finally started it with my fiance. We're playing co-op. I know I said we were gonna start it, but we actually did start it. And
I saw you playing the other day, and I was like, bringing a tear to my eye. I was like, I'm finally doing it.
Yo, and I'm blown away by how much, like, depth there is to this game.
Yep.
And I honestly, I was taken aback, because I don't know if you've played I know you play multiplayer with, like, other people online, but have you played, like, the split screen mode?
No.
So it's actually very interesting because I don't think any other game has done it like they did, like Baldur's Gate 3 has done it. Literally, it splits the game into two. So like your character and your partner's character or like whoever you're playing with,
Yeah.
it's separate. Like you can do your own thing, you can go everywhere in split screen. You can have your own dialogues going, you can create your own characters, you can customize all your stuff and like get the loot. It's like it's not like tethered to like one player. Like you know how like a lot of RPGs do it, like
Yeah.
and literally like if I'm in like one room, the second player can go to the next room, talk to another person separately from what I'm doing, and like do their own thing.
So
It's
it's just like multiplayer basically.
yeah,
But,
it's literally
but
just
it's
like
split
multiplayer, but it's
screen.
split screen. Yeah, it's
Crazy.
so crazy. Like, and now I'm like, I understand what they were talking about with the whole like limitations of like the Series S. Is like this is very expansive split screen. Like I underestimated how much of a burden it was gonna be on like the system and stuff like that. So I can understand why they wouldn't want to sacrifice that, or they had to sacrifice that to release it on Series S. But if you're playing on split screen, like it really is like you're playing the same game like in the same party, but it's separate. Like I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I don't think any other game has done that. Like usually like if you're playing like another game in split screen, like as soon as one player gets in a cutscene, like that's it.
Pulls
Like
you
it's
in. Yeah.
yeah, it pulls everybody into the cutscene. Whereas this one, like you can have a whole separate cutscene while I'm still looting other characters and stuff like that.
So
It's
crazy.
yeah, it's so crazy. It blew my mind. I was like, yo, I
So
wonder if go ahead.
let me ask you, did you guys create your own individual characters or are you
Yes.
okay, you did? Okay.
Yeah, so when we started in split screen, it literally again, it splits the screen and it let us create our own characters separately
Okay.
in split screen.
Okay, so now you and your wife or fiance, sorry.
Fiance, soon to be wife.
Yes, that's your wife. You guys created your own character and now you're going around the world collecting party members and stuff like that.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's so like expansive and I'm super excited because it's one of those games because like we like to play co-op games and it's hard to find a game that's really like engaging like in a co-op sense. Like yeah, there's multiplayer games or whatever, but like you know like I like co-op games like for us to play together and
Or
there's not a lot of games like that and I'm super like happy that this ended up being something that we can actually play together like and really be into it because like we're not too far into it because like it takes so long to get to certain parts. It's
it
like
does.
especially like with the battles and stuff like we just got to the goblin camp and
Okay.
yeah, we're in it. We did the stuff. We haven't even completed like one quest yet. Like
Okay, so let me tell you this. There's so much stuff that you're gonna miss if you just go and straight do like all the like the main quests.
yeah.
Search around, look around, open the map. Trust me, and look at everywhere. Look, do everything. Open a door, go down a well, go places where if you open a map it's black. Go down there and see what's
Yeah.
down there because the game is so immersed and there's
Yeah.
so much things to do. You will do so much just in that first act. You're like, that's the first act. And
Yeah.
then when you get to the second act, you're like, okay, second act's not that big. And you get to the third act, you're like, oh my god, I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So take your time.
So you're right. We are taking our time. We're not like rushing through everything. Like the
But-
reason why we wanted to like focus on like one quest is because so right now I mean it's been a year already. Like I don't know if
over a
it's
year.
spoilers still territory or whatever.
It's been over a year. Talk.
Okay, so under the Goblin Camp, there's like a secret layer, I guess you could say,
Yep.
like cavern or whatever,
Yep.
and you can get some like loot. That's where we're at, like right now. Like at the last time we played, like it was just earlier today.
Okay.
There's like a high level monster in there that you can fight, and
I know.
we're not ready for it.
You're not
We're
ready for it.
We're level 3 and it's level 5. Thankfully, it like ran away, so we were able to survive.
Oh,
But
you got lucky.
yeah, we definitely got lucky. Like we were about to die. Like I'm be honest, we were about to die, and I saved right before. I was like, you know what? If we die, we'll just reload. We'll save scrum. That's what it's for.
That's what it's for, exactly.
But the reason why we're kind of like sticking towards like the path sort of is because we don't want to run into a situation where we're way underpowered and we're running into high level enemies that we can't take on. Like that was the first instance of that happening, and luckily we got away from it. But I don't want to run into another situation like that.
So that Underdark Cavern area, that is probably the highest like level of like Act 1. If you go other places in Act 1, I think you'll be okay.
Okay.
Like,
all right, so then
let me ask you, who do you have in your party right now? Who did you meet?
All right, so we had 4, but one of them left. And then so we had like in our party right now, because there's 2 of us, and so we can only have 2 other people.
We have 2 other people.
We have Lazel,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have Shadowheart. The 2 people that we met in the Mind Flare spaceship, whatever you call that.
The Nordalord, yeah.
Yeah. So those are the people we have right now. But
have you met anybody else?
Yeah, so we've met Gale. And he's in our camp.
Okay.
And we haven't used him yet, but we might use him soon, just because like I feel like we don't know how he is in like battles and stuff like that, or how useful he can be, so we might like try him out. We had we met him in the Goblin camp. Volo, that I guess he's like a researcher, or
he's a bard.
He's a bard? Okay, then he fooled me. No, because I want to. All right, again, I'm gonna just say spoilers because it's been a year, whatever.
Uh-huh.
So when you meet Volo, you can he's like captured in a thing, and you can choose to save him later on if you meet him in like further on in the Goblin camp.
Mm.
So we chose to save him, and he went back to our camp.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went back to the camp, we were talking to him, or I was talking to him, and I told him about the little tadpole that's in our head or whatever, and he's like, let me do some research and I'll get back to you, whatever. Maybe I can help you. So he did that, and we went back, and he said that he can try to like extract it from my head.
Yeah.
And I saved right before that because I didn't know what the fuck he was gonna do. So I went and I let him try, and he I mean, I'll just tell you, he didn't take it out.
Yeah.
But he took my eye out. Yeah. He just hammered and just like gouged my eye out, and I was missing an eye. But then he gave me like a glass eye or something like that.
Yeah, it's a magical eyeball.
Yeah, I was like, whatever. And he said, but then after he left, it said that I can see invisibility now.
Yes.
And I was like, oh shit, look at that.
Yes, look at that. Yeah.
I took a leap of faith, and it actually paid off. Although
there's always something to everything you do.
Yeah, I was very scared because I didn't want to lose my eye. I was gonna lose my vision, my accuracy is gonna go down. But no, I actually gained an ability.
Okay.
And it was, I thought it was actually preferably because I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm actually watching One Piece. So when my eye was taken out, I thought I was gonna be like one of the characters in there, and he happens to be my favorite One Piece character. So I was like, oh, I could be just like him. But then he gave me the glass eye or whatever that thing was, and then I was like, man, I wish I could just be one-eyed. Because the eye that he took out, I when I made my character, I made him have a scar on that eye. So I was like, oh, it's perfect. But now then, because when I made my character, I made him a tiefling.
Okay.
So my eyes were like so my eyeball is black, and then my pupils are like whatever color. But then when he gave me the thing, the eyeball is white. So now I have 2 eyeball colors that are completely different. It's so again, this is why I was just like, this game is so like in depth of like and detailed. It's like it's crazy. Like I'm so I knew it was gonna be because I saw everybody talking about it, but like I underestimated how much it was.
Yeah.
And this is gonna take me. It's probably gonna take me a whole year to actually finish.
It's gonna take you guys a long time. That's why I said go everywhere, explore everything, especially when you get to a map. Like you're on Act 1. This is the first map.
Yeah,
So explore the whole map before you like go to a new area. Because
it'll let me know when I'm changing like acts, right? Okay.
Yes, it will be like you're leaving the area. Are you sure you want to do this? So it will tell you. But explore everything. Because did you get to the camp?
Which camp?
Not your camp. Did you get to
the tiefling camp? Yeah. That's where we went first, and that's when they told us about the goblin camp, and then we went there next.
Okay, because my first playthrough, I didn't even get there. I went straight to the goblin camp. It was just killing goblins.
Oh.
And I just saw a goblin. I thought, okay, that's bad. Kill him. I mean, it's a work in progress. I've played the game already 3 times, so I know the game like the back of my hand. I know what's going to happen. Yeah. So take your time, enjoy it. You and Natalie are gonna have a great time with it. I can't wait for more updates.
Yeah, I will definitely update you on my my adventures in Baldur's Gate.
Yes, I'm so excited for you. So excited. All right, because like we can sit here and talk Baldur's Gate 3 all night.
Oh yeah,
so
we could.
So let's put that on pause, and you'll update us later on your adventures, and let's get into some news because we don't have a lot, and that's a good thing. It gives people time to play their games, enjoy their lives. But let's get into what we do have. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Tango Gameworks, because it's a new year and it's a new Tango. They've been reborn, so to speak, as Tango Gameworks Incorporated. They're under the Krafton Company, and this Tango Gameworks was supposed to be shut down by Microsoft, but they sort of held off and basically sold it to Krafton, who said they're not going to shut it down and they're going to keep it, and they're reborn, and they're working on some games and going to be working on some new IP. And that's really great news because that means that people get to keep their jobs, and the developers that created Hi-Fi Rush get to continue making great games.
Yeah. This is only good because the Tango Gameworks is basically like one of those examples of like a darling studio. Like they created something very like genuine. I mean, they've done like other games before. They did The Evil Within and stuff like that, but Hi-Fi Rush was really like something special, and it was one of the few games that I just like dove into, and I got into it, and I was able to just feel everything about it. And the fact that even after that they were shut down, or seemingly or almost shut down essentially, but then Krafton was able to bring them back to life and save the studio essentially. It's really nice to see that they're able to continue on, and now they have a breath of fresh air, and now they're rebranding. I mean, I think they only added ink at the end. It's Tango Gameworks Inc. Yep. But I'm very much looking forward to what they have cooking. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, I think they said they are working on like a sequel to Hi-Fi Rush.
Yes, they did say they were continuing the franchise.
Yeah, so that most likely is going to be their next game, just to kind of like, I mean, they already have something there, so it makes sense to just continue that before they like, go off and do other things. Which I'm definitely looking forward to. I can't wait for that. But it's like I said, it's only good, and I'm glad that Krafton was able to see where the benefits of keeping the studio live where Microsoft couldn't. And I'm sure there was like reasons for it, reasons that we won't ever know, but still, on the surface, it was a very stupid move. And I'm glad Krafton was able to facilitate them just going on and continuing what they do best.
Yeah. I mean, Krafton even stated that they're not downsizing at all. They were actually looking to hire a minimum of 100 people for Tango Gameworks Incorporated.
Wow.
So they're looking to expand, and not just the sequel to Hi-Fi Rush, but also more IPs coming from Tango Gameworks. Like I said, this is like you said, this is great news.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully it's not a situation like Callisto Protocol. I mean, that not to say that that was a bad game, but compared to what it was supposed to mimic, which is Dead Space, it didn't really live up to expectations. And it was made by the creator of Dead Space, or he was a part of it at least.
Yeah,
So hopefully this is a different situation and they can still maintain that magic that they had with the first Hi-Fi Rush.
definitely. Definitely. Look, this is good news from Tango. So
Yes.
glad. I'm so happy for them. Let's continue. This time, a new patent has come out and seemingly confirms Nvidia's 4K AI upscaling is going to be working for the Switch 2. It was a leak and a patent that came out, and they're tying it to Nintendo. So everybody's now just saying the Nvidia's DLSS upscaling will be able to run on Nintendo to upscale their games to 4K and whatever FPS they practically want with their upscalers,
Yeah.
and seemingly help Nintendo get to a power level that we haven't seen from Nintendo for a while. And this could be a good thing, but I don't want. So for me personally, I don't want Nintendo to rely heavily on AI upscaling. I just want their games to run well.
Yes.
I just want a Pokemon game that runs better than 10 frames per second. Okay? I need something that's going to be worth the money. And if this helps them, that's great. But I don't want this to be like their crutch into sort of
Yeah.
like a higher power system.
Yeah. I think so. The DLSS and FSR and now PSSR, all that stuff is on paper very like it seems like a good thing, but in practice it's very hit or miss. So there's some good examples of it working as intended, but then there's other examples where it's not as good. And I think ultimately it's I mean, platform holder, even Microsoft is probably going to use it too. Like they have to try because there's only so much power that they can put into their consoles or your platform that will give the users or give developers the power to see the vision that they're trying to implement while also keeping the price down, because that's really the drawback. Is that, I mean, you look at freaking video cards like the 5090 and all the other ones that are coming out around that time, like it's gonna be like thousands of dollars we're talking about. So it's very expensive. So the fact that DLSS and FSR like are there to use, like it's a good thing ultimately, but it's still in its infancy where developers have to still figure out how to get it to work properly with their games. So that way it doesn't look like mushy or like faded or anything like that. So I think this is a good thing. But like you said, we don't want Nintendo to use this as a crutch to be like, let's just make the same games, but then we'll just use this to AI upscale it to run better on like when they put it in the like docked mode or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it is funny that and if anybody wonders why we don't talk about Nintendo as much as we do like Sony and Microsoft, it's because they don't talk about shit. Like they don't announce shit. This is why like we wait for leaks. Like they haven't even announced anything officially yet. Everything we know about the Nintendo Switch 2 is through leaks. And they haven't even announced it officially.
That's true.
Exactly. All this could be just made up. And then the Switch 2 could just be another Switch just with like it's 1080p now, or I don't know. Yeah, so it's just mind-boggling that Nintendo's still dragging their feet on this and they just don't want to announce it. Although they have to announce it by March 31st because that's the end of the fiscal year. So we'll find out before then. Who knows when, but before then.
What's
Um,
funny, while we're on Nintendo, I actually saw a video stating that it's going to be released June 3rd, and they supposedly got footage of the actual console and we're showing it off. And I'm just like, this is probably AI generated,
yeah,
but who knows? Like there's
yeah,
so much leaks out there and nothing's confirmed. There's a lot of speculation. I mean, all this, even this DLSS upscaling for the Nvidia could all be bullshit. We just don't
it
know.
could. It honestly, it could. Like everything is up for like it's up to Nintendo to either confirm or deny, but they
Yeah,
don't say anything again. So we don't know. It's literally just a guessing game. So until Nintendo announces whatever it is that is gonna be the Switch 2 or Switch Pro, we don't even know if it's officially Switch 2. Like that's how little we know
yeah.
actually officially. So we'll find out soon. But if
Cool.
this is the case with the DLSS and Nvidia, like I feel like it'll ultimately be a good thing. I just hope that Nintendo is gonna use it properly, and hopefully the actual hardware itself won't have to rely on it too much to give us the performance that we actually want from Nintendo games. Like you said, the freaking Pokemon games should not be running at 15 frames per second. I mean, maybe back in the day on the Game Boy, but not on the 2025 system.
That's a fact. Yeah. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of months with the Switch 2.
Yeah.
And let's move right along because we have some controversy surrounding Xbox and the developers of Black Myth Wukong. It's been all over Twitter the last couple days. The Chinese developer, the CEO, Fang C, celebrated PC and PlayStation 5 Black Myth Wukong Game of the Year, the Steam Awards, and they even released a statement about the game not coming to Xbox. So they stated that they're very happy that the game won the Steam Game of the Year award and are excited to see where it goes in the future. Their direct quote is, "The only thing missing is Xbox." It says, which somehow feels a bit wrong that the 10 gigabytes of shared memory without years of optimization experience is really hard to make work. Now they're talking about the Series S's RAM being only 10 gigabytes of shared memory, so more like maybe 8 gigabytes actually
Yeah.
being able to be used, and on the Series S, which is why it's Xbox has not got Black Myth Wukong, because of course Xbox has the parity clause, which means that it has to be able to run both on the Series X and the Series S at the same time. Now,
With the exception of like we talked about earlier, Baldur's Gate 3, where they had to
well,
sacrifice a feature on the Series S
well, that was
to
they sacrificed the feature for now. That feature is available on the Series S now.
Oh, is
Because
it?
yes, because they updated it, and they Xbox sent teams of engineers to help Larian sort of optimize the game for it. So as we're speaking now, it is available for the Series S. Um, so that just means that they just needed more time to optimize the game. Now the big controversy is that everybody took that first half of the quote, which seems that the 10 gigabytes of shared memory is not enough to have the game on the Series X and Series S. So everybody took that one part of the quote and ran with it, saying the Series S is a potato. They can't, they
Yeah.
can't run games, and it's been all over Twitter and mainstream news all over the place. But
Yeah.
the second part of the quote is literally says, without years of optimization experience. So yes, Xbox does take some sort of blame for having that parity clause and not being more flexible with developers. But these developers, and now mind you, they're not a AAA studio. Um, they don't have a lot of funding, and they don't have the years of experience that, let's say, Rockstar or Bethesda have to optimize their games. They literally say in their own quote, without years of optimization experience, it's really hard. It's really hard to make work.
Yeah.
So they're stating they do not have the expertise and the time to optimize for older systems, let's say like older PC systems that have less RAM, and for systems like the Series S. And I think the controversy should be both Xbox and these developers should take blame. It shouldn't
Yeah.
just be the Xbox. It should be, okay, we can't do it because we don't have the expertise. So then you can ask for it. Just same way Larian asked for help and they got it, they can ask for it, especially if they want to, branch out and get more sales. Because we already know that the PC for Black Myth Wukong sold like 10 million copies.
Yeah.
They can sell more if they bring it to the Xbox, but they need that help because they don't have the expertise.
Yeah. I think developers need to be more honest with like the limitations of the developers and not necessarily blaming just the hardware, because I've always said that optimization is not a hardware issue, it's a developer issue. Because not too long ago, we heard from the CEO of Take-Two, where he was asked about GTA 6 running on the Series S. Like, oh, is it possible? Like, we've heard so many developers talk about the stress that they have to put into making the game run on the console. He said they're not worried about it because resources or at Take-Two are able to facilitate them being able to run games on the Series. Like, it's not about if the hardware is capable, because there's so many games, and granted, I know it's different. It's a different situation in terms of like development and stuff like that. But there are games, including Black Myth Wukong, that will run on a Steam Deck, which is very, very low powered compared to like a PC or even just a regular console like Series S or Series X and PS5. It's still able to run on that platform. Now, again, I know it's a different situation in terms of like how to port and stuff like that, but the fact that it can shows that it's possible. So it's like the developer said, they said that we don't have the years of expertise to port games to like that a console like that. So we can give them a pass. However, one thing that bothers me, and a lot of people are talking about it, because Microsoft not too long ago, a few months ago, when they were asked about whether or not like what was the reasoning behind Black Myth Wukong not releasing on Xbox, they didn't say it outright, they didn't say it directly, but they did say that there is no hardware limitation issue, and that any deals that they made with competition or anything like that is up to like the developer. They can't comment on that. So they basically said that they took a deal with Sony, and now all these months later, like they still haven't denied that they've taken a deal with Sony. Now, is it a traditional like exclusivity deal? No, I don't think so, because if it was, then Sony would be shouting from the mountaintops that they got Wukong, one of the most popular games of 2024, exclusive to PS5 on console at least. So, yeah, if it was a traditional exclusivity deal, then Sony would be talking about it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't take a deal. So what I've seen and what I've heard, that a possibility is that they took a deal not for exclusivity, although in part it would come with that, but for help with like development and stuff like that. Because I mean, if you play, or maybe they've patched it by now, I'm not sure, but at launch, if you played Wukong on PS5, it ran like shit. Like, let's be honest, it ran like shit. It looked very like muddy, and if even in performance mode, it just wasn't optimized properly. Now, I think what happened, what is a likely scenario, is that Sony reached out and said, "Hey, we can work with you and to help you optimize our game or optimize your game for the PlayStation 5. But in turn, you can only release it on PS5 at launch because obviously we're going to send our engineers to help you." And them being an indie studio from China, like it's like the niche of the niche, they said, "Hey, we're not in a position to say no, so let's take this deal so we can at least get it on a popular platform." And that's what they did. So, or that's what I'm assuming they did.
They did it. They did it.
So, like what everybody was saying, they took a deal. Doesn't mean they took an exclusivity deal. They took a deal with Sony. And to this day, they have not denied that they've taken the deal. And I think it's very telling. Like I feel like journalists that are doing interviews with them should probably ask them directly did you take an exclusivity deal? Like, I feel like that's the best way to get an answer from them because all we know is kind of like alluding to that they took a deal and nothing's direct. So, and granted, they're not going to say that they took a deal, but if they didn't, they should probably say that they didn't. But the fact that they haven't yet, I still think there's a possibility that they did.
If it walked like a duck.
yeah, essentially, like if it looks like a duck, it quacks like it, or whatever the saying is.
You know it. You know the
yeah. But ultimately, this game is eventually going to come out for Xbox. It's just a matter of when. But I think the potential deal that they took with Sony is partially why. Because if it were like in the case with Larian, it only took 3 months for it to get ported to Xbox.
Yeah, less than that, I think it was.
Yeah, because it came out in September for PlayStation. Yeah,
September, and then it was beginning of December.
Yeah, so ultimately, I think it's not really an issue of optimization. Well, it is an issue of optimization, but not on the part of game science. It's on the part of Sony. Like they offered help to make it work on PS5 first, and then after the fact, they can work on the Xbox version. I mean, I don't know if there's a time limit window, whatever, for them to start doing that, but who knows? We'll see. But all I'll say is that the more that they don't address the fact that they might have taken a deal, it kind of leans towards that they took the deal.
Yeah. I mean, listen, whether they did or they didn't, I just think that they just are too small of a studio to pull the resources to try and port their games over to any more places. And they're relishing in the fact that their game won so many awards and stuff, which is great. They need to do that. But if you just want more sales, then you take the time, learn to optimize, and put your game everywhere.
Yeah. Cool. I wouldn't even fault them for if they actually did take a deal. I wouldn't fault them for it because, like you said, they are a small studio. Yeah. So it makes sense for them to take a deal. Like, look at Hypercharged Unbox. Like, they didn't take a deal, but they were open about the fact that they're a small studio, literally a group of 5 people that they grew up playing Xbox. So that was the first console that they chose. And they were open about that fact. And now, eventually, they're porting it to PlayStation. Now they're advertising for PlayStation players. So they were very open with the fact that they chose Xbox first because that was their preferred platform. And then eventually they were going to release it on PlayStation and, so I don't see why it's such a bad thing to just acknowledge that, yeah, we took a deal because we're a small indie studio and it makes more sense for us to focus on one platform or less platforms to port the game to than multiple because we're not a big studio. We're an indie studio from China. Like, it's very hard for us to do stuff. I mean, that's to say, they're even allowed to talk about it because we don't know if maybe if they took a deal with Sony, maybe Sony was just like, nah, don't talk about this. So we
Listen,
don't know.
it is China, so
And that is also another fact that could
yeah,
play into it. But
yeah.
ultimately, I think they should just say it. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just things
Listen,
may be lost in translation. I don't know. I
that's
just feel
true.
like
That's another thing. It could be lost in translation because they do take these sort of like their quotes and stuff, and then they put it into a translation machine like either Google Translate or some AI translator.
yeah,
And there could be a loss of translation. We don't know for sure because one, we don't speak Mandarin.
yes, yeah,
So it's a lot of factors. Either way, enjoy games, have fun playing them, and stop bickering about if it's coming or what system did what or what developer did what. Just play your games. Have
yeah,
fun. That's what this hobby of ours is for. So we can just have fun.
exactly.
If you can't play it yet, there's plenty of other games to play. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really all there is to say about it.
All right. Let's move on to the last bit of news, and we have some words from former chief of PlayStation, Shawn Layden. He's quotes some very interesting quotes from him, and a lot of people were upset by what he said, but he's just speaking some truths. Let's get into it. So, Shawn Layden says, looking to the future of the industry, how the console market it's nearing its limit, and he goes on to say, I think we're at a point where the console becomes irrelevant in the next, if not the next generation, then the next generation definitely. It goes on to say that it's not going to be a big graphical jump like we saw from the PlayStation to the PS2. This technology, although advancing, I think for video games has reached its like tipping point. I mean, we even have VR games where you could be Batman, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
Technology is definitely advancing and moving forward, but how much more hyper realistic can a game get or look before it's not cost effective to have running on especially a console? He goes on to say we're at a point where the innovation curve on the hardware is starting to plateau, and at the same time, the combinations of the silicon means that when you open up an Xbox or a PlayStation, it's really pretty much the same chipset. It's all built by AMD, and he's so right. It is just a plastic box with an AMD chip. That's all it is. AMD is the true winner of the console war.
yo, honestly,
Because it is both AMD chips. And he's absolutely right. We're not going to see a major shift. I mean, because even the PS2, and PS3 days, they had 60 FPS games. It was just
yeah,
now. It was recently with the Xbox One and the PS4 that sort of kind of reverted to the 30 FPS, and that was because of just games got bigger. Games
yeah,
got bigger and the budgets got bigger, so they had to limit themselves somehow. So they switched it from 60 FPS to 30 FPS to try and like look at Uncharted, look at games like Tomb Raider games. They're all 30 FPS, but they were big games, with
yeah,
big graphics. So something had to have happened with between those generations that sort of, like he said, plateaued. And that is really the future. The next console, of course, Xbox is already talking about making the next console. I'm sure PlayStation is working on a PS6. We already know that the Pro is sort of like their little test baby for the next generation.
yeah.
So they're gonna make the next console, but who knows what happens after that? How much better can things get?
Yeah, I think he hit the nail right on the head. In terms of like what the future lies for console gaming, like eventually, I mean, we've heard the rumors in terms of like what Xbox is doing, that they're gonna be like a PC console hybrid and stuff like that. Maybe they'll have a handheld as well. I think ultimately that's where we're headed, and I think the traditional console, the idea of a traditional console, is coming to an end. Whether it be next generation or the one after, it's coming to an end, and I think a lot of people are having a hard time like really grasping what that means, because for so long. Like that's what they've been used to. Like that they're used to a console that is made by a specific company, only runs specific games, and that's it. Like it's all like curated for them. But the idea of it expanding and essentially just being a PC with a specific OS tied to it is like, I mean, if you boil it down to it, that's what a console is. It's just like a very customized PC.
Yeah.
So when you talk to them about basically the consoles are becoming irrelevant and it's gonna be down to software, that just doesn't compute. Like that's gonna be like what? Like what are you talking about? So ultimately, like he is right that, I mean, if you really want to talk about like what the future is, it's all streaming. Like this is exactly where like video streaming was like 15 years ago. Everybody was talking about when Netflix dropped on the scene, like when they introduced streaming and stuff like that. Like everybody was just like, this will never take off. Like it's not really a big thing. It'll never replace DVDs or like physical like movies and stuff like that. But here we are in 2025. I mean, just last year, Best Buy and Walmart are getting rid of their physical media sections because it's just not profitable anymore. There is no point to keep it around anymore. And more stores, I'm gonna assume, are gonna follow suit. So streaming for like video is taking over. As much as people like or dislike it, it's happening. So I think ultimately, I mean, maybe not within our lifetimes, but certainly in the future, streaming is going to be the main way we play games. Like just earlier today, I happened to be on my computer. I was doing stuff. I was setting things up, and I wanted to test something out. Because Xbox announced not too long ago their the play your own games on like streaming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try it out, and I did, and it literally works like almost flawlessly. Like obviously there's still some like artifacting issues, but in terms of like latency and like graphics and stuff like that, like everything works fine. I was playing my games on the cloud, and
what game did you try?
So this is a little sneak peek because we have more programming coming to the, I guess we don't really have like a name. Well, we do kind of have a name for like our podcasting circle. It's called Channel 2 Media, but we don't really like advertise it. We may end up in the future. But right now it's loading up podcast and Excuse Me Brother podcast. We're gonna be adding another one soon, very soon actually. And we'll talk about that when we do it. But I was setting things up for that, so I needed to record something from a game. It just happened to be from a game. Like it's I won't spoil what it is now. We'll talk about it next week.
Okay.
But I needed something to record for something that I was setting up, and I didn't want to go over to my Xbox and record it and set up everything just to record. So I just streamed it, and it worked. It was literally like it was like my Xbox was connected to my PC or my PC monitor, and it just worked. And I was just like, it's stuff like that where I was just like, this is the future. Like the fact that I don't need a specific box to play these games. Like it's just stream it. And ultimately that's where we're headed. But anyway, getting back to what the whole topic was about. As far as consoles go, like I still think consoles will be around. It's just they're not going to be as different as they used to be. Because before it used to be very different. Like the original Xbox was very different from a PS2, which was very different from a GameCube. But slowly but surely, maybe Nintendo might diverge. They might change things up and do things differently. But in terms of like functionality, they're all going to be the same. They're still going to play the same games. The only thing that will be different is like the software that it can play. Yep. And Obviously, there's going to be some exclusives. Not saying every game is going to be playable on anything, but eventually, most games will be playable on any console. And it's a hard concept to grasp because you think, like, why am I buying this then? Why am I buying an Xbox when I can just buy a PS5? Why am I buying a PS5 and I could just get an Xbox? Like, but if you think about, like, let's look at smartphones. When you buy a smartphone, let's say you don't have any smartphone yet. When you're looking for a smartphone, like, really, what are you looking for? It's everything runs, like, all the apps run on both. Most of the features are cross, like, compatible. They just added RCS from, like, Android and iPhone, so now you can send, like, high quality pictures and stuff like that. You can FaceTime between iPhone and or even, like, regular video chat on other apps between Android and iPhone. So it's like, really, what is the reason why you would pick an iPhone or an Android? It's just because what you prefer. That's really what it is. Like, you just like how it looks, you like how it feels, you like the OS and how like things are organized and stuff like that. That's what's gonna happen with consoles. It's not gonna be about what games it has, what exclusive games it has, because majority, I want to say like 80% of console players, they don't care about exclusives. They just care. They play the same freaking Call of Duty and Madden and FIFA and NBA. Like, they play the same games, Fortnite, and all of those are mostly cross-platform. So it really won't matter to the majority of console players what system they have because they can just play together. It's really just gonna come down to preference, and that's where it should be. Like, if you prefer PS5, play PS5. But don't try to make excuses why, like, why it's better and stuff like that. Like, because you're just basically falling into the trap of, like, buyer's remorse. You want to justify why you chose it by listing a bunch of reasons why. When ultimately it's just say you prefer it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why I prefer Xbox. I literally have a PS5, I have a Switch, I have a gaming PC. I still play on Xbox because that's my preferred console. Like, that's it. That's the only reason.
Me and you are in the same boat, man.
Yeah. So it's like there's no shame in just preferring something. Like, you can have preferences. You don't have to justify it by saying, it has this exclusive, it has this feature, and this and that. Like, just say you like it. That's what it is.
Although Quick Resume is top-notch feature for this gen. Just saying.
You're right. Which I'm mad that PS5 got rid of the closest thing that they had, like, to that, which is so dumb. Why would you do that?
It wasn't
anyway. Yeah, it wasn't like even like fully functional or whatever. Like, you have to do the cards thing and stuff like that. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's a feature thing. It's not an exclusive game thing. It's a feature. That's why you would want it.
Yeah.
So it's like, ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to. Like, certain features are going to be on the platform you prefer. It's not going to be about the games itself. Like, although it should be, like, you think, it's a game console, like, but it's going to come down to that. But Shawn Layden is right ahead. Consoles are going to become irrelevant. They're all going to be essentially PCs that just run a different OS.
Yep. Definitely.
Sorry, I went on a very long rant there.
You're fine. I love it. You know I love your rants. That's it for the news. What else we got?
All right, so before we go, because we didn't have that much news, I do want to talk about, because it's a new year, it's 2025. I want to talk about our games that we're looking forward to for this year. So before we started, I was telling Brother Zay that let's come up with a list of top 5 games that we're looking forward to in 2025. With the caveat being, although it really didn't play into anything, that we can't choose GTA 5 or GTA 6 because everybody's looking forward to it. That's going to be freaking game of the year. It's going to be most played game ever in history. Like, we all know everybody's going to play that. So it's kind of like cheating just to put on there. So we came up with a list of 5 games that we're looking forward to in 2025 that has a release date of 2025 as of now, as we're recording. Yeah, it could be delayed. Who knows? I hope not. But as of right now, our lists are 2025 games that have been announced for 2025. So I'll go first.
Go ahead.
And so this game is actually it was announced a while ago. I actually forgot that it was coming out this year because it feels like it should have been out already, but apparently it hasn't been. It got delayed into this year. Little Nightmares 3.
Okay.
So I forgot that this game was coming out this year, and I'm very much a fan of Little Nightmares. So are my kids actually. They're very much into it. They actually dressed up as the characters from Little
I
Nightmares.
saw it was great.
Yes, it was so, and I put so much work into making that the box head or
Yeah.
the paper bag head.
The big bag, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, but it came out so great. Because he was the character. My youngest son was the character Mono, from Little Nightmares 2.
Yeah.
And then my oldest son was the character. He doesn't really have a name. He's called the Runaway Kid,
Yeah.
and from Little Nightmares 1. So it was kind of like a combination. So they're very much fans of that game, and I'm a fan of the game of the series, and I can't wait to play Little Nightmares 3 because I really like those games. It's kind of like a just a classic like small game. It's not too long, but it tells a really good story in both of the games, and this one is actually going to be co-op. So I know my both of my sons are looking forward to it because they can play together. Um, but yeah, this was, I think it was supposed to come out last year, but for whatever reason, it got pushed to this year. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it.
Okay.
So what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Monster Hunter Wild. I am super stoked for Monster Hunter Wild. Me and you both played the sort of beta.
Yes.
And it was so fun. I cannot wait for this game. It comes out next month. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I forget that it's
I
coming out
know.
very soon.
Very soon.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and it feels different enough to like the other previous like Monster Hunter games that it's just like I might get into this one. We'll see. We'll see.
Good.
All right, so my number 4 is gonna be something that we talked about not too long ago when we were talking about the Game Awards. It was announced at the Game Awards. Split Fiction.
Oh yeah.
So I'm very much looking forward to Split Fiction by Joseph Fares. I forget the name of the studio.
Oh, don't even ask me. I
Yeah,
forget.
I forget the studio's name. But they made A Way Out. They've made why am I blanking on the name? It Takes Two. Yes, they made Brothers.
Yeah.
Their pedigree is way
It's Haze
up
Light
there.
Studios. Sorry.
Haze Light. There you go.
Here you go.
I knew something with light, but I couldn't remember exactly where it was. So yeah, so they have a high standard for their games, and like I mentioned earlier, I very much look for co-op games, and that's exactly what they specialize in, co-op games.
They do it right.
They do, yes. They like their games are built around the idea of co-op. So that just makes it much more appealing to me, and it's also great on top of it. It's not like, oh, it's just a co-op game that you can just play with somebody like for a few hours. Like, no, like they're full like games, and they're
their
fun.
Stories are so well thought out, and
yes,
they're emotional. It's really great. I love their games.
Yeah, and it's just like the puzzles are very like thorough, and it's like they really took their time to like make these games work with like the co-op in mind. So I'm super excited for this, and the story looks really interesting. Yeah, I can't wait for it. And I don't have to wait long. I think it comes out in March.
It does come out in March. I think March 6th.
Yeah, so can't wait.
Yep. My number 4 is, I think it was shown at the Game Awards as well. Outer Worlds 2.
Oh yeah, I forgot about. Oh my gosh, I forgot about Outer Worlds 2. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. I had to put this on my list because Outer Worlds 1, the first one, it was so good, and it's sort of indie in the sense that it's a smaller RPG, and it's sort of like Fallout in space. That's how I best describe it. and it was really good. The story was great. The only thing I wanted of it was more. I wanted
Yeah,
more like cutscenes. It didn't really have too many big cutscenes. You know,
yeah,
and that didn't take away from the game, but I felt like it could have fleshed it out more. So with Outer Worlds being shown, part two being shown at the Game Awards, they really said that they're going bigger, they're going better. So I'm like, I can't wait for this game, and it's coming out this year, and I just know it's gonna be epic.
damn, I can't believe I forgot about that game. Yeah, no, the Outer Worlds is so great. It really caught me by surprise because I remember when I first was playing it, and I only did it just, kind of just to try it out and stuff like that. And I got so into it that it was like my game, like my go-to game for a long time. And like you said, like that you can see like where things kind of like were had to be held back because at the time it was like an indie game essentially. It was published by Private Division, which was Take-Two's indie publisher, I guess. But that means it had a smaller budget. But now that they're part of Microsoft, the budget can be a little bit bigger and they can expand more. And that's literally all I want from this game. Like, I just want more. Like,
Absolutely.
everything was fine, exactly how it was. I just want it expanded. Just more of it. So,
It's
yeah,
gonna
no,
be
I'm,
great. It's gonna
I'm
be great.
really hyped for this game.
Definitely.
So, my number 3 is a game that we heard about, well, almost 5 years ago. It was announced at the 2020 Xbox Game Showcase, along with a bunch of other games that haven't released yet. But this one is supposedly coming out this year. I mean, we've seen much of it, and hopefully it actually delivers. Fable, I'm looking forward to this year because I really I never really got into the Fable franchise.
Oh no!
The original Fable franchise. Like I played a little bit of 3,
Oh my
but
God.
obviously that was not the best one to get into. Yeah, so I'm looking at this as kind of like a fresh start because when I first started playing the Fable games, like I was not really into like RPGs at all. So I didn't really understand them at the time. Maybe if I go back, like I'll appreciate it more. But I'm hoping that this is kind of like my like reintroduction because now after playing so many RPGs and understanding what it means, I can appreciate it now. And now that it's essentially it's a reboot, it'll be easier to get into. So yeah, Fable is number 3 on my list, and we don't know when it's coming out. They just said 2025, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, that's a good pick. My number 3 is South of Midnight.
But that's another one I forgot. Jeez.
Now, it feels like every week we get more news and or gameplay footage or something from South of Midnight, and everything I see from it, it gets better and better. I just can't wait for this game. I want to play it right now. It needs to be out today.
Tomorrow, after we record this.
Yes, please release it.
Yeah.
That's how bad I want to play this game. But it is still not my top, but it is up there. Number 3, South of Midnight.
Yeah, no, you would think that because they're showing so much of it now, like it has to be sometime soon. At least like Q1, Q2.
What I think is going on, specifically with Xbox, is that they have so much coming out, and there's so many games coming out. They don't know where to put things because it's too much, and they want every game to have like its little shine and its little, its time. But they have too much, so they have to delay things, just like they did with what's this game coming out that was supposed to have launched before Indiana Jones, Avowed. So it's like they keep pushing things because they're like, we need every game needs its little shine. I think there's too much coming out for Xbox, which is crazy to say.
Yeah, I mean because if we were just like we said 4 or 5 years ago, the idea of Xbox having too much to release is like what? Like that's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
But speaking of Avowed, that is my number 2 pick.
Hey, me too.
Yay! There we go. So yeah, Avowed. I'm again, for similar reasons of like Fable. I know it takes place in the Pillars of Eternity universe. I never played those games because it's a completely different genre. But because I loved the Outer Worlds so much, and Obsidian has yet, and I also love Fallout New Vegas. Obsidian has yet to let me down, and I think they can really like basically like drive the point forward that like they are the RPG powerhouse that Xbox acquired all these years ago, and I'm very much looking forward to, because I'll be honest, and this is gonna come maybe as a shock. I never got into Skyrim. I tried
out the podcast right now. Get out. Go.
I was more of a Fallout guy. So I never really just I don't know. I tried multiple times and it didn't click with me. But the more I see of Avowed is basically what I wanted Skyrim to be. And granted, Skyrim came out like over like 15 years ago at this point. So I see what I wanted Skyrim to be in Avowed, and I know Obsidian can deliver, so that's why it's my number 2, because I feel like it's what I would want from I guess fantasy RPG. So
I'm so mad at you right now.
I'm sorry.
Just go to straight to your number 1, because my number 2 is Avowed as well. And I can't wait for it. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good game, and we don't have to wait long. I think it comes out in a month, right?
Avowed comes out in February. Yep.
Yeah, so we don't got much to wait. All right, so if you know me, I've talked about this game multiple times. I've been very hyped every single time that I've seen this game. It should have come out last year, but for whatever reason, it got pushed to this year. And this game is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. I am chomping at the bit for every bit of news that can come from this game, because Konami wants to tease us with every social media post on Twitter or whatever. I'm waiting for a release date. Give me a release date, please. I want to give you my money, but you're not letting me, and it's pissing me off. I want this game so badly. It should have come out already. I'm such a Metal Gear Solid fan, number 3 being my favorite, and the fact that this is going to be the remake, naturally, it should be my number 1 anticipated game for 2025. I can't wait for this game. Everybody who knows Metal Gear Solid, like, you know why this is going to be a great game. Yeah. Konami, please. Please.
The man is begging. Release it.
I'm begging. You can't see me. I'm on my hands and knees right now. Please, just give me a release date.
Oh man, that's a good number 1 to have for sure.
It's a personal number 1. I know a lot of people, they'll say, it's just Metal Gear Solid. No, it's Metal Gear Solid is literally like my top 3 franchises ever.
Snake Eater was my most favorite Metal Gear Solid game. I love Snake Eater, so I'm really looking forward to it too. So I'm with you on there.
Yeah.
But my number 1, and that's because, unlike you, I played all of the Fable franchise games. So I know.
That's why you got so pissed off at me.
I did. So Fable was such a great game. I loved all 3 of them, even though 3 was probably not like the greatest. I still loved it. This new Fable that's coming out this year looks absolutely fantastic. Between that British humor that the Fable series is known for, it brings more of it. The cast, the voice acting, the gameplay that we saw. I cannot wait for Fable. It is my number 1 game that I'm looking forward to in 2025. And there is a lot more coming out. So this is definitely my number 1. I just cannot wait.
Yeah, no, Fable's definitely gonna be like a tentpole release for Xbox, and honestly, I could probably see, because we know that Xbox loves to do their big fall release. I think this might be that big fall release, because the way that they're planning everything out, it just makes sense for that to happen.
Yeah.
Although I would like it for it to be sooner. I don't like that they do that because I think maybe last year we felt it more. Just it felt like everything was releasing like later on in the year. When why not release things earlier in the year? Why, like Hellblade was fine when it released. Like, why can't you just release things like in the spring or in the summer? Like, you don't have to wait to the fall to release stuff.
Well, now I don't think they have a choice. They have to, because they have so much coming out.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately, like, they're gonna have to just release stuff.
Yeah.
So
absolutely cannot wait for the game. I know that. I know there's gonna be so much coming out this year.
We didn't even talk about freaking Assassin's Creed, Shadows. We didn't talk about Ghosts of Yoti. We didn't talk about Death Stranding 2. All that. There's so many games that are coming out this year that we didn't mention, but it's just, this year's, it's probably going to be like what was the last year that it was it 2023 that they had like so much games that were great that came out? I think it was.
I don't remember.
I feel like it was 2023, but this year
the pandemic screwed up the timeline. I don't remember.
Yeah, it did. it screwed up our perception of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, this year is going to be great for gaming, and it's going to be bad for our wallets.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, you know what? That's what we do here. We talk games, we play games, and this year is going to be jam-packed, and we can't wait to continue talking games with everybody and continue playing our games this year.
Yeah, so this year is definitely going to be a good year for gamers, and a good year for us as a podcast at the Loading Up Podcast. So with that being said, I want to thank you for listening to us. Remember, you can like and subscribe if you're listening to us and watching us on YouTube. If you're listening to us on a podcasting app, just remember you can rate us, and that will help us reach a broader audience, which will help us grow and make us feel good, because we like to feel good too. And if you're looking to support us even more, you can look in the description, and you can support us by supporting our sponsors I got tongue-tied there. W Energy, NordVPN, and Starforge PCs. All the links are in the description. We thank you for listening. We will see you more in 2025. Peace.
Laters.